Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the garage, welcome back to fiberglassing the race truck, if you will. So tonight we're going to keep working on our fiberglass all weekend long. I was working on it. I think I just had a light bulb blowout. That was, yeah, kind of loud for what it was. So anyhow, I need a new light bulb, and we're going to continue working on our fiberglass. So like I was saying, this weekend I was working on it, trying to really figure out exactly what we're going to do with it, how we're going to go about this and all that. So one thing I did do was pick up a tool to help us with our bed sides, which we're not getting to tonight. Tonight we're focusing on the front clip. So what I've already done for the front clip is get our rear, one of our rear mounting points installed. So if you look at the race truck, we have a couple of these push buttons or push pin connectors. I'm trying to remember what they call it. I guess it's a push button lock thing. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'll try and remember to put a link down in the description. I just got these off of the Amazon, but you can get them from a multitude of different places. But basically, it's just a stud. You push the button and you can pull it out. So we got that there. I actually had to drill a hole into our Lexan to get this thing to sit flush. And of course, now I'm not going to be able to get it. There we go. So that should, that should, man, I just can't talk tonight. That should attach the front upper cowl, if you will, of the fiberglass body. So I did it up here because I'm planning on keeping this cowl. I think it looks pretty neat that way. We're definitely gonna have to clean this edge up and get a good line there. But I put one here and one on the other side over there. As far as to the door here, I did clean this up a good bit, so we have about the same lines. Now that being said, we do have a bit of a gap, but we'll just have to figure out some way to space the fiberglass body out a little bit. On the passenger side, it is not near as bad. Like I said, see, it's kind of coming in here, but that's also because of how I have it. It is not 100% shaved down to where we need it. Just for the simple fact, we've been moving things around. I have the front here on jacks, so that way I have the front clip exactly where I want it, and those rear buttons really help to locate it and kind of keep putting it back in the same spot. I was really fighting, you know, having it one side to the other, well, until I figured that out. So tonight we're gonna work, or at least start, on trying to get this thing so it will hinge up and then be removable and whatnot, and the first part of our mounting. So what I did to accomplish this was actually came up with my own little hinge system. Basically, it's kind of my take on the hot bods, fiberglass front clips you can see guys like with second gens have, and really I got the idea from Greg A's video. It's where I kind of got the idea for this. I don't know what those hinges exactly look like. I just kind of came up with something that I thought would work. And that is right here. So as you can see here, I kind of have the body of the hinge that I made out of some flat bar and all, and then it just hinges down like that. So you will pull it out about 3 inches, and then it will hinge down, and it actually has its own little stop, so it'll be at a 90 degree. And then I have this little plate, which is from S&W Race Cars, so we can bond that plate to our front clip. Now here's where this whole thing kind of is completely out of my realm. I'm not really sure about this. I haven't done anything like it before, but we're going to give it a go, give it a try. So how we are going to attach that to the front clip, we're going to be using this stuff right here. This is Speed Grip from Norton. This stuff sets up in like 15 minutes. It's for bonding like fiberglass and stuff to each other. It's like a urethane structural adhesive. So it's like 15 minutes of like working time, and then it's like so many minutes of this, so many minutes of that, and it's like 3 hours till the final cure and all that. So this is how we're going to start. Basically, those two hinges are going to go on the inside of the front frame rails. You're supposed to clamp these plates when you're installing them, but really, if we looking at our front clip, there's no good way to really get a clamp in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rely on those push buttons, and we're actually going to install our hinge mechanism onto our frame with some clamps, and I'm just gonna kind of hit it forward, add some more clamps to make it nice and tight, and that will be our clamping device. So anyway, guys, apparently I'm not able to speak real well tonight, so let's just get to work, see how this stuff makes out. Really, we're gonna end up adding more support than our 2 hinges eventually, but I just wanna give this stuff a try, see how I like the hinge. We'll be very gentle, seeing how it reacts with the front clip. And if we get to a point where we're like, this isn't going to work or whatever, we can step back and try and redo it all. Like I said, just kind of shooting from the hip a little bit. This is all something new to me. But then again, majority of this race truck project has been stuff that's new to me. So let's get to it and see if we can get this front clip attached to the frame of our truck.
Well, we're all applied. Now we wait. So I did tack the brackets on the top and the bottom, just make sure they don't slip or move. I mean, my vice grips are pretty tight, but that stuff, kind of coats, and you can wipe it off. Like we had stuff over here. I put stuff on the face, and I did clean up the fiberglass before I did this, sanded it down. But I put it on the face of the plate with some goop, with some heavier parts. Pushed it on there, clamped it, got our bracket where I wanted it. I'm using this as a little bit of a guide to keep things kind of even on both sides, and then take my measurements, all that. But that gives us a good starting point. And then I just coated it over top of it as well. Kind of the thinking is to encapsulate the plate, and then like our holes go right to the fiberglass. So if we're bonded to the fiberglass and the plate, it's just some more surface area holding on to the thing. So really, we got to wait for this stuff to set up for a while. I don't know that we're going to be able to see this thing flip up tonight or at all. Like I said, eventually I will probably put a brace between the 2 hinges, maybe put a brace up. There's some good structure here, with these bends in the fiberglass and all that. But then up here in our grill, we're gonna eventually cut these grill pieces out so we get flow through to our intercooler. But we can't come up directly straight from our brackets to kind of support the roof. But this fiberglass is pretty thick, pretty tough, so I don't know how much bracing we're going to need. I don't feel like it's going to be a whole heck of a lot, but yeah, time for the waiting game.
So guys, it is the following night. Well, as you can see, we have our front clip tilted, but it's kind of unfortunate. So we had our speed grip epoxy. We put it all on last night, hooked our hinges up, all that, had everything set up overnight. Actually, worked late tonight, so I got home a little later than normal. So it has been sitting for over 24 hours, and I couldn't wait to just get here and pick that thing up and tilt it. And it worked great. Everything did what it was supposed to, and all that. But when I tilted the front end, I could definitely hear as it was coming back, the fiberglass kind of wasn't liking all that weight on these points right here. And as you can see, there is where our epoxy was. But anyway, when we tilted it down, you could hear it. So I got my little stool here, my blanket, and I set that under the grill area, and everything was looking good. And I definitely, after hearing that, wanted to put a little more bracing. I was thinking have something come up from our hinge up to this top of the bumper mount. I really was not planning on just keeping these 2 points, doing a little more bracing later on, epoxying some more stuff on there and all that. Which, all right, not a big deal. I kind of was, I had the stool handy because I was expecting, well, I don't know what I was expecting, but I definitely wanted to have it there in case we needed to rest it. So everything was sitting there. It was looking fine. Went to tilt the hood back up, and boom, she dropped down. Both of our 2 points disconnected from the fiberglass. Yeah, kind of. No, there's no kind about it. It just sucks. So anyhow, here is one of our hinge points. As you can see, all the epoxy still on there, and actually the epoxy did not seem to fail. We have like one little area here where maybe we didn't have enough compression on our joint, whatever, but if you look, it's all fiberglass on the inside of that plate. The speed grip did its job, but the fiberglass did not like all that tension on those 2 points. So we didn't even get a chance to do our extra bracing before we had, well, a failure. So I don't really know what our next step's going to be. This kind of sucks. I don't know if I'll be able to clean that epoxy stuff off of that and try and reuse that hinge. Yeah, it just sucks. Like I said, I had the stool handy because, you know, just in case. And yeah, when I started tilting it back and you'd let go, you know, I had it fully tilted and then you'd let go and you could kind of feel the weight coming back and you could hear the fiberglass kind of crackling. So, all right, stop, slid my stool under there. And then when we went to pick it back up, that's when it failed. So what I don't know if what happened was when it was cracking, it was starting to, you know, put a little tension, kind of flex the fiberglass, and that was causing it to pull. Like I said, this front clip is like 62 pounds, I think, when I weighed it. It certainly feels heavier just because of how awkward it is. But I don't know how we're going to proceed forward. We're certainly going to need a lot more bracing. Initially, I was just thinking of coming off our hinge up to that bumper point, but maybe we need to run kind of bracing all through the fiberglass. But once again, how do you clamp it? I mean, you can't clamp something in the middle here unless you just put weight on either side. I'm not really sure. I'm going to mull it over and see what I can come up with. Maybe I'll lay this thing down over here. I'm not really sure. Kind of debating about whether the whole hinging the front hood or front clip is even worth all this aggravation. Well, guys, we're on a day, I forget. Seems like this is going to be like a week-long project all wrapped up into one video. So each night we just kind of keep getting a little bit done. Except for last night, we really just kind of had a big setback. So anyhow, last night after our little front clip incident where it just completely came off the hinges, I stepped back and thought about it a lot. And I came up with another game plan. So we'll go over the game plan here in a minute. But first, what we did accomplish last night. So last night, I re-epoxied our hinge pieces to our fiberglass front clip. I did kind of go a little wider with our epoxy. Also, I cleaned all the old epoxy off and all that and kind of redid what we did last night. So like I said, when I first tilted the hood, it was fine. But then when I kind of overextended it or whatever, I could hear kind of the fiberglass stretching. So we're going to take the front clip off, flip it on its back, and talk about what we're going to do. So, well, wish me luck. So since we have this gorgeous Pennsylvania day, we have a day when I actually got home from work at a decent time so we can work on this thing before dark. We're going to work on it outside. So as you guys can see, we have our brackets in for our hinge, and they are nice and sturdy, but we already know that we cannot trust this epoxy, or it's really the fiberglass that we can't trust because it's kind of ripped already. So we're going to make a support structure to help kind of take the weight and the load of the entire thing. So we're going to try and tie the whole front end of the fiberglass in together. That being said, we did have a little bit of a boo-boo last night when we dropped it. So we got a little crack here. Not the end of the world. It's on the bottom. It does suck, mess up our new fiberglass, and she got a little scratched up. Not that I'm really worried about the scratches and the crack here. We will repair that in the future. But going on, talking about our support structure. So what I'm thinking is we're going to tie these two things in together, tie it into the front here with our epoxy and some other stuff I got, which is right here. So we got a fiberglass repair kit. Bondo makes this particular one, but basically this has our fiberglass resin, hardener, and fiberglass cloth. So what we will do, or the plan is, to make like a framework out of this 1/2-inch EMT conduit, and we will run that framework between our two hinge points. We will epoxy it to the fiberglass itself, and we're going to try and make something to go up and around the grill and maybe up the center here to kind of mate all this stuff together. And we will epoxy the parts that touch. Like we'll try and get, bend the conduit so we get a nice contact patch here, and then we will epoxy it. And once our epoxy has cured and set up, we will then fiberglass over it, trying to kind of marry it to our fiberglass trunk clip and make this whole thing work. So this is just way too much weight, and I don't think it's really the weight that's the problem so much as it's all this weight kind of hanging off the end of it. So we're going to try that and just kind of tie all this stuff in together. And how we're going to clamp it and all that, we're going to have to figure out as we go along. I don't know if we're going to run a bar through the center. I'm thinking about it, but eventually, these grill holes will get cut out on the truck just for our intercooler so we get flow. But that's kind of the game plan. We'll get to it. I don't know what this is going to look like yet, but wish me luck. Well, as you guys can see, it is nighttime. Our nice warm day here in Pennsylvania has turned into a brisk evening. We have lots of dead EMT on the ground, on the trailer, in the front clip. So I started off the night, I made this little brace for the front so we could try and epoxy and then fiberglass over this front piece. We'll put it up here, try and figure out a way to clamp it, and then we'll weld in here. All we need is a few tack welds on the conduit to the flat bar, and then we can weld it when we get it out of the truck. And really, it doesn't even need to be fully welded. Really, this is just kind of like a side brace, and to put pressure on here. Also have another plate down here to do the same thing, kind of epoxy and all that. I was happy with how that all turned out. I realized welding back here might not be happening, so we can get 3/4 of the way around. It's not a big deal. So anyhow, got that in. Then I was trying to figure out my next kind of way to go, and that's where things kind of headed south. So my initial thought was to come off of the flat bar where our focus. So my initial thought was to come off the flat bar where our brace is, and then kind of come down the side here and just make some flat pieces off the bumper, and then have them bend down to the headlight. And I wasn't really liking that because I only have that one tie-in point here in the front. So I started looking at our EMT and bent a few test pieces just to see the corners. And really, I went to Votech for electrical, and not that I do that right, currently for an occupation, but got really good at bending EMT. But it's amazing what you forget in 15 years. So really haven't bent any conduit since then, and I can't remember any of the take-ups or any of that kind of stuff. So I was bending the EMT, and here's kind of what my plan was, and it kind of just went, all to hell. So I was going to have the EMT sitting in here, got a little kick in the center so it followed the body, the bumper line a little bit. And then I would kind of bend it down and follow the headlight, try and get get a flat spot on the headlight, and then down here and up, and get a flat spot down there. So we kind of tie the fender, the headlight, and the bumper all together. And then I was going to put pieces of bar straight down on here, so that way we have pressure from our bracket. So this, you know, when we move the hood, it's not, this whole thing's not pulling on our epoxy, because we do know that our epoxy will hold up, but it will just kind of pull the fiberglass out. So anyhow, now I'm thinking, I got this flat bar, you know, if I can at least get that support going down across the front of the bumper, that'll be better than what we had. It is getting late, and that's at least something we can put the epoxy on, let it set up overnight and all that. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to throw the hood on, kind of eye this up, figure out what all we want to do, see how everything looks underneath, and kind of go from there and epoxy this in, get these things tack welded and all that, and at least we'll have at least a little bit more structure. Like I said, guys, this whole front clip is just kind of really kicking my butt. I got a lot of different ideas floating around. None of them seem to be coming together, and you know, it's just not doing this before, and it's completely out of the realm of anything. You know, welding the cage is cutting, grinding, welding. It's not a big deal. You know, making some of the stuff here, it's all mechanical. That's stuff I do all the time. Hey, even just our plexiglass, it's kind of make a template, trace it out, and cut it. Not a big deal. This is kind of something I got to think a little more abstract about. So we'll at least get this brace in tonight. Maybe we'll have something coming off of our flat bar to get support to the like grill area and all that. But let's try and get this thing on, and hopefully we don't rip our brackets off. So guys, we moved into the garage and things kind of changed. So I was definitely overthinking the whole thing. Needed a more simplistic setup. Once I got under the truck, it was kind of like a light bulb moment. I'm like, man, I want to get extra support going up to that bumper area. I want some extra support here. There is an easier way to do this, so that's why I made this. So here we have a piece of chromoly tube, and with a couple of little pieces of tube, and then we have a couple of our little attachment plates for our adhesive. These two go up, and this one goes forward, so we'll have a third forward point and two on the sides. This, my plan was to get everything in place, get our adhesive on there, put this thing up, tack weld, so that way it would be giving pressure up and pressure forward, and that way our adhesive would bond like it should. But we were all ready to do that. That was the other thing. It also helped strengthen up our two pieces of flat bar, you know, keep them from flexing, and keep that other epoxy stuff from kind of doing what it did before. But anyway, that's where everything took a turn for the worst. So our epoxy, I put a new tip on it, went to go use it. Well, we were at the very end of the tube. All right, not a big deal. I had gotten some 3M panel adhesive as well, just to something else. Figured I'd give it a shot if we needed to. If not, you know, whatever. So I got the 3M stuff out, got it loaded in the, you know, that special caulk gun with the two barrels. Started pumping. Everything looked good. But then I noticed like one of the thing mixes in the tip, your two parts of the adhesive. The one just didn't look right. Well, then I got looking at the back of the tube. Here, a lot of the material was coming out the back of the tube. It was not pushing the plunger down as it should and applying the stuff. And when you looked at the stuff coming out the tip, the beginning was black, but then it started to change to, I guess, whatever the hardener is or whatever the lighter color part of the epoxy is. So needless to say, we are dead in the water. We have no epoxy. I don't even know where to get it. I just got the stuff off of Amazon. So yeah, this front end is just fighting me the whole way. I don't know what I'm going to do. I got like a week's worth of kind of here and there videos, I don't know if we're going to roll it into one here or we're going to extend this out till we get our adhesive and just make one good video where we show the whole process and all that. But yeah, I know if I put it all in one video, it's going to be a scattered video. But so I guess we'll find out. But if I do decide to put it all in one video, I hope you guys have enjoyed. This front end's really kicking my butt. Just, I don't know, trying to accomplish a bunch of stuff and trying to do what I want, and this thing's just big and bulky, and anyway, it's just not going as I had planned, and we're hitting roadblocks all over the place, and I keep constantly kind of changing my plan, revising it if you will, to try and make it better. So anyway, I'm quite frustrated. I don't know when we're going to get more adhesive and do this, but yeah. So if we can't get the stuff for the front end, we'll move to the back end. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Get out in your garage. Get the wrenching on your truck.